What is it like to live in Washington, D.C.'s South West Waterfront? This amazing neighborhood is the biggest redevelopment in D.C.'s history, making a mile-long stretch along the Potomac River waterfront the most modern, updated, pedestrian-friendly part of the city. When they started the redevelopment project, the idea was to make D.C. a waterfront city once again, and that it certainly has. But the question really is it the right neighborhood for you? So that's what we're going to look at today. We'll look at the facts and the figures, see what it's like to live there, costs, schools, community, parks, things like that, to help you make the decision. To pinpoint the neighborhood that we're talking about and what we're going to consider the Southwest Waterfront for our facts and figures today, let's take a look at the map. Southwest DC is the smallest of the DC quadrants. It starts along the mall, the middle of the mall. So technically, half of the National Mall is in the Southwest quadrant. So that includes museums such as the Air and Space Museum, the African Art Gallery, Freer and Sackler Galleries, the Hirshhorn Museum, which is the only private museum on the mall, the American Indian Museum, and others. The Tidal Basin is also part of Southwest Waterfront, with the FDR, Martin Luther King Jr., and Thomas Jefferson memorials around there. So all of this would be walking distance if you live in the Southwest Waterfront. So you can take advantage of all the activities on the National Mall. So it starts along the mall, splits it in half, goes up to the Capitol building, as all the quadrants do. They meet at the Capitol. And then it goes south along South Capitol Street. There is a large portion, about half of Southwest, is actually across the Anacostia River. Today, though, we're going to mostly be focusing on the area that is in the primary part of DC, near the mall, for quite a few reasons. A portion of Southwest DC that is across the Anacostia has very little residential space. There's one small neighborhood, Bellevue, and we'll touch on that when we get to the real estate figures. However, lumping it in with what it's like to live in Southwest DC, it's a little skewed because it's further out and not connected to the rest of Southwest DC. The rest of this part of Southwest is primarily made up of the Anacostia Bowling Military Base. It also has a Naval Research Laboratory and Blue Plains Advanced Wastewater Treatment Plant, and a few other municipal buildings. We're going to be looking at the part that they call the near Southwest, between I-395 and Fort Leslie McNair, which is the tip of this peak here. There's a lot of Army defense buildings on the near Southwest as well. Now, like we talked about, Southwest DC does go up to and include parts of the mall. That space that's between 395 and the mall doesn't have many residences. It does have some hotels, but it's primarily government and other office buildings. It's also known as the Southwest Employment District, or the Southwest Federal Center. So here you've got the Smithsonian Institution, museums along the mall, the Holocaust Museum, L'Enfant Plaza, the Botanical Gardens, a lot of really great places to go visit. Most of Southwest DC was demolished and redeveloped in the 1960s. So there are a lot of pre-existing condo, co-op, and apartment buildings that were built at that time, still existing today, alongside and making up most of the Southwest Waterfront part of DC. Way back when I used to live in this neighborhood, there was very little to do along the waterfront. There was a few big clubs, places to dock your boat, and a handful of restaurants. It is night and day different from what it once was. The Waterfront Redevelopment Project broke ground in May of 2014, and the first phase was finished in October 12, 2017. So it's still all very new, only about 7 years old at this point. And phase 2 was completed and opened in October of 22. So that portion of that mile-long strip is even newer. And that's where the Amorous luxury condo building is, along with a few major office buildings, a really nice park, and a venue center. The cost of the redevelopment was $3.6 billion. Now, the long-standing staple of Southwest Waterfront has always been the fish market. It's still there today. They redeveloped around it, now with slightly less convenient parking. It's where we all get our Chesapeake Bay blue crabs by the dozen, as well as a ton of other great fresh seafood options. The way that the waterfront was planned was into individual blocks, sections with unique character. You got the fish market right here, and then there are two major arteries at the Wharf. Main Avenue, which is what was there before all of the Wharf redevelopment, It has many restaurants and retail spaces fronting to it, and a bunch of Capital bike share stations. You can easily rent a bike here. Adding to the pedestrian and bike-friendly feel, there are separate lanes for pedestrians and bikes on the sidewalk. And then there's Wharf Street, which is along the piers and the waterfront. And this is where you'll find most of Southwest Waterfront's and the Wharf's attractions, restaurants, and cafes. There are a ton of great restaurant options at the Wharf, and for the most part, they have wonderful views of the Washington Channel, leading to a waterfront dining experience like no other. There's all these options, and this is just what's at the Wharf. There is more in Southwest DC, although not much more. This is most of it. And a very kind note from Bon Appetit magazine at the bottom there. Next to the fish market, you have Market Square, Market Plaza, and Market Pier, with outdoor seating for enjoying your food from the fish market, and more casual restaurants. You've got Blair Alley. It's a charming plaza dedicated to a young architect that had been working on the project and tragically died in a skiing accident. So there's a statue to remember Blair Phillips there. Transit Pier, which is about a 12-minute walk from the L'Enfant Plaza Metro, is where the water taxi arrives and takes off. They have waterside concerts on a floating stage. The much more large-scale concert venue, the Anthem, is also here. And in the winter, they have an ice rink. District Square is the retail heart and soul of the Wharf. It has a great collection of boutiques and shops on all sides. Cafes and restaurants as well, which are throughout the Wharf. And District Pier, the dramatic outdoor public event space where they hold festivals and other activities, and occasionally dock unique tall ships as an attraction. There's also the Dockmaster building at the end of the pier, which features more of a private, indoor, over-the-water event space that has 270-degree views of the water and monuments. And these spaces are available for rent. District Square also has a beautiful water fountain. Then there's Sutton Square, the beautifully landscaped setting where the Vaio condos are located. I just looked up a 2-bedroom there that sold for $679 in 2018 when it was new. Sold for over $900 at one point and is now listed for over $1 million. So the cost of these Vaio condos at the Wharf has just about doubled since they were built about 6 years ago. And home to the Capital Yacht Club's wonderful new clubhouse, which overlooks the boat slips. Pearl Street, the neighborhood's live entertainment hub with a variety of music and dining choices. You got Recreation Pier, where they've got a ton of relaxed waterfront activities, kayaking, paddleboard rentals, places to work out, swings all along the pier. It's also where they dock the largest yachts. There's a fantastic fire pit at the end. It is a great place to watch the sunset and take your obligatory I'm at the Wharf all by myself selfies. There's 7th Street Park and Sprayground. It's a great green space open air park with a splash pad for kids. Great place to have a picnic. It can look a little bit different at night. It's very active around here, right next to Recreation Pier. Another great place to enjoy the view and the sunset. And that's the first of a few parks that they've created as part of the Wharf redevelopment. There's also the Grove. It's a charming outdoor space with a fire pit and a small stage where they showcase local talents right underneath the beautiful Hotel Pendry and right next to Gordon Ramsay's 2 Wharf restaurants. And the Green, a 1.5 acre park with quiet seating areas, shading trees, with a fountain as a centerpiece. Great landscaping, which also works a bit like a courtyard for the Amherst building. Waterfront Park is a 3.5 acre park right at the edge of the Wharf, which was actually part of the redevelopment during the 60s. It has a memorial to the Titanic and remains there today. And with that, let's segue into our parks category for the rest of the area. There are so many great parks in Southwest DC, including Randall Recreation Center and Pool, 3rd and I Street Park, right next to the Southwest Community Library, which is fantastic and opened recently in 2021. And there's the always adorable Southwest Duck Pond, always a great place to relax. And of course, you've got all the great public outdoor spaces on the mall. But beyond all of that, there's also East Potomac Park, which is part of the landmass that was built up, man-made, during the late 1800s. It's basically an island which created the Washington Channel between the Wharf and the Potomac River. So many great things to do here, including East Potomac Golf Course, which opened in the early 1900s and is the largest of the 3 golf courses in DC, which are all publicly owned. There's 18 holes, mini golf, driving range, and everything else you'd expect in a full-scale golf course. And Haynes Point at the southern tip is a very popular place to hold picnics and to go fishing. For dog parks, there's only one, Landsberg Dog Park, which is kind of right in the center, pretty convenient to anywhere in this part of Southwest. And they have separate parks for small and large dogs, and drinking fountains for the dogs, which I think is great as well. It's not all do. There's also a couple of dog parks nearby in Navy Yard if you cross right over the line that you get to pretty easily as well. Schools. Most elementary school students will attend Amidon Bowen Elementary School, shown here. It's very central, again located in a prime location in Southwest DC. A handful of kids, mostly near Buzzard Point, closer to Navy Yard and National Stadium, will attend Van Ness Elementary School, which is a little further up M Street, but also not very far, convenient to Southwest Waterfront residents. You've got Jefferson Middle School Academy, where any middle school age student will attend, which is located on Main Avenue, right across the street from the Wharf. So talk about after-school activities for your middle schoolers. And there's just one high school covering all high school age students, and that is Eastern Senior High School, a very large school located in Capitol Hill, Kingman Park really. So it is a little bit of a trek for your high school students. It has a great athletics program, a nice range of extracurricular activities, and Eastern is number 2 in esports nationwide. Because there are so many great charter schools in DC, there's actually 136 and something like 105 traditional DC public schools. 48% of school-age kids attend charter schools in DC, so I did want to sort of throw it out there. There are a couple really great ones nearby. For elementary, middle, and high school, you have Basis DC, which is an 8 out of 10. It's just across the National Mall, so not too far. And Richard Wright PCS, which is actually in Southwest DC, serves middle and high school age students. And that school gets a 7 out of 10. So a couple of really great charter schools nearby for any age student you may have going to DC school. Community. There are 3 metro stations in the neighborhood. The L'Enfant Plaza Metro Station is a great transfer station, and the Waterfront Metro Stop, located very centrally, has a wonderful farmers market right next door, which is open on Saturdays and every other Friday evening for community get-togethers. There are a couple of private galleries, Culture House DC, which has rotating exhibits. It's also a fantastic event space, which they rent out for private events. And Rubel Museum, another gallery, great rotating exhibits. They charge $15 to non-DC residents on the weekends, and during weekdays, the admission is just a choose-your-own donation amount cost. To touch on the real cultural impact of Southwest DC, there's Arena Stage. It has been in its location on the waterfront in some form since 1960. It underwent a major renovation between 2008 and 2010. They focus on productions by American playwrights. And they have A Wrinkle in Time coming up in late spring 2025. I'm pretty sure I'll be taking my girls to see that. One of the hottest parts of DC people are focusing on for up-and-coming and developing areas is Buzzard Point. That's the tip of this right here, and that's where Audi Field is. It's a state-of-the-art soccer-specific stadium that opened in July 2018 and is home to the most decorated team in the MLS, DC United. This area has seen a ton of development in recent years. New condo buildings are sprouting up all over the place, and there's still plenty of room to grow. Plenty of open areas yet to be developed here at Buzzard Point. So a lot of exciting news, I'm sure, is still to come from there. And now we're up to my favorite part, the real estate section. So before we get into this, just give you a heads up, the Southwest Waterfront real estate market is very weird. It's just different than the rest of DC. You have tons of co-ops. You have basically no single family homes. I don't know of a single one. And whereas in most of DC, you have row homes that were built before the whole concept of townhome communities came around, your typical DC house by house setup is a row home where there's no HOA fee. In the South West Waterfront, most of those townhomes were actually built after the development of townhome communities, so they do have an HOA of something like $100 a month at least, but they can go up and actually be called a condo even if they look like a townhome and have an HOA or condo fee of more like $2,000 to $3,000. So the real estate pricing really is all over the place. In an effort to shorten this video just a bit, I'm going to separate my real estate comparisons section into a separate video, which will go into detail comparing the Southwest Waterfront real estate market to other condo-heavy neighborhoods in DC. And I've also put together a companion video, which talks about the differences between condos and co-ops. So make sure you check those out. The links are above. In the meantime, in this video, I'm just going to do a brief overview of the Southwest Waterfront real estate market, a little bit about the sales and the rentals, and the types of properties you might expect to get. There are currently 111 active listings in the Southwest Waterfront, and 0 of those are detached homes. Come to think of it, I don't know if you can find a detached home in the Southwest Waterfront. 16 of those 111 listings are row homes, townhomes, or duplexes. The large bulk of the real estate there is going to be condos and co-ops. 91 of the 111 current active listings are condos or co-ops. It doesn't mean that these are small condos. The average home sold is over 1,000 square feet at 1,083 square feet, and the average sold price is just under $659,000. If we look specifically at the 22 row homes that sold over the last 4 months, the price there is a little over $755,000, $524 per square foot, and the average size is $1,456. Now, speaking specifically about condos and co-ops, the range of the condo fees was $301 to just over $3,000, with the lower condo fees tending to be on newer buildings. I'd say a good rough average that you could expect to spend for a condo fee for a 2-bedroom condo or co-op would be about $700 to $1,500, depending on the age of the building, the cost of the upkeep, and the level of amenities offered. Now, to touch quickly on rentals in the Southwest Waterfront. The average rent price there is $2,411. For a studio or 1-bedroom, you're going to be in a range of about $1,500 to $2,200, maybe a little more. 2 bedrooms typically run you $2,700 into the $3,000s a month. And for 3 bedrooms, they start, and there are many options, around $3,500 a month. But this guy really is the limit with your larger units in Southwest Waterfront. Now, the architecture and design and styles, age of the properties in Southwest Waterfront do vary quite a bit. So to give you an idea of what you could expect depending on what you're looking for, we'll take a quick look at the least expensive real estate, the most expensive real estate, and some options that are right in the middle. By far, the most reasonably priced units are going to be at this beautiful mid-century modern building close to the metro station. It has wonderful amenities. It's a co-op building, which is the main reason for the less expensive units. You can easily get a studio or 1-bedroom here for less than $100,000. 2 bedrooms around $180,000 up to $200,000. There is quite a hefty co-op fee to go along with this, which does pay for the amenities and most of your utilities as well, so very little to pay beyond that. And for the opposite end of the spectrum, we have 2 current active listings at the Amherst building. The first one is Penthouse 5, a spectacular 2-floor condo, 4,500 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 3 full baths, 2 half baths, listed for $7.5 million. This building has amazing finishes throughout, definitely detailed to the nines. And Penthouse 5 has sweeping views of the DC skyline, its monuments, and the water from its massive panoramic rooftop deck. Another amazing unit in this building is Unit 1001, currently listed for just under $6 million. And that one's 3,600 square feet. Here's footage of that unit that I personally took when I was showing it to a client. The building has fantastic amenities. Here's their indoor pool, has really wonderful party suite, valet parking, gym, has a movie room. So that all is included in the condo fees. The remaining units at the Amherst have been available for a while now, and we've seen some drops in prices. In fact, one 2-bedroom unit just closed for less than $1 million. And you have larger 2-bedroom units with more of a view, now being sold for a little over $1.6 million, which is down from a few months ago when comparable units were listed and selling for about $2.2 million.
Touching on what you could actually get for the average price in South West Waterfront, we've got this condo, $655,000, $30,000 less than the waterfront average, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, fairly reasonable condo fee, built less than a decade ago. This townhome, which does have a condo fee, so priced a bit more like a condo than a row home. And here are some examples of actual row homes. So these are going to be the typical DC row home where you don't have a condo fee or an HOA to pay. The average for a townhome or row home in Southwest Waterfront was $755,000, so these are all well below the average. So it is possible to buy a property in Southwest Waterfront that does not have a monthly fee along with it.
I hope this really gave you an idea for the feel, the lifestyle, and what it would be like to live on the Southwest Waterfront. I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. It's a great place where we can keep the conversation going. And please keep in mind, I always love hearing from my YouTube viewers, whether it's text, phone call, or email. I love being able to talk about and help discussing their move to DC, the neighborhoods that are right for them, or whatever other questions they may have about real estate in the area. And of course, I really love it when members of our community here reach out to me so that I can be their realtor and help them buy or sell a home in the DC area. So please don't hesitate to reach out anytime. I'm always happy to hear from you. Thanks again, take care, and I hope to see you next time.
And because there are so many of them worth noting, I'll leave you with a quick compilation of Southwest Waterfront's modern and mid-century modern churches.